It was a dark and stormy... It was a stormy and dark... It was... If you want to find out how to properly start a scary story, stick around and find out. Hey, it's Tuesday, time for another Prompt My Story video. I'm Marty Chan, a kids author, storyteller, and playwright. Every week I put out a video that shares some writing tips and video prompts to help you become better writers. This week's video is sponsored by Orca Book, the publisher of Haunted Hospital, my brand new book about a group of teens who sneak into a haunted hospital in search of ghosts. Now, in the spirit of scary stories, I thought the video tip should be about how to start a scary story. It's one of the hugest challenges for any writer, whether they're writing a scary story, an action adventure, a drama, a comedy. It's about trying to figure out that elusive first sentence that will excite the reader so much that they'll want to keep reading. And I have to be honest with you, it is the nightmare that every writer faces. You'll see what I mean right now. Okay, so as you can see up here on the screen, this is the terrifying moment for any writer, staring at that blank screen and trying to figure out how on earth are we going to start that story. Especially when it comes to scary stories, because you want something to give the reader a little sense that they're going to see or read something that's going to be creepy or atmospheric, and you're trying to find that perfect first sentence that's actually going to pull us into the story. This video, I'm going to talk about that first sentence and how you can come up with something that actually works for the reader. Now, the way I break things down is I think there are three possible objectives that you can have with your first sentence. If you can hit all three objectives, that's perfect. But if you only hit one of them, that's great as well, okay? So you're trying to hit at least one of these three objectives when you're writing the first sentence to your scary story, all right? The first objective is you want to be able to hook the reader's attention. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can grab or hook a reader's attention. I mean, you can start off with a sound like a crash or a bang or a creak. I'm sure you've been told that time and time again. Start with a sound. Another way you can start is with some strange image that we might see at the beginning. Maybe we see a sign that says keep out or beware, and that sort of grabs our interest. You could start off with a line of dialogue. Maybe somebody whispers, "Help me," and that instantly grabs our attention. Now, those are perfectly fine ways to start a story, but my personal favorite way to start a story is with an action. When you have a character doing something off the top, that's always going to grab our attention. So if something whoosh, moves across the screen, instantly, I'm going to follow that movement. By having the character do something off the top, that's always going to hook our attention. The second objective that you have with your opening sentence is you've got to set the mood for the story. Now, the mood is basically giving us a sense of what kind of story to expect. If you've got an action adventure, you want something that's got a lot of action sequence to it, something that is very dynamic and it moves really well. If you're writing a romance story, then you're going to start off with a romantic mood. Maybe there's moonlight and two people holding... No, maybe not. Don't do a romantic story because we're talking about scary stories. So you want to set a scary or creepy mood, right? And that oftentimes has to do with the setting, how you describe the place that we originally see. Now, I'm going to give you a piece of advice. A lot of times people think, well, scary stories should happen at night, and sometimes scary stories happen during a storm. So I'll start off with, it was a dark and stormy night. Please, please, please. Don't start your story with, it was a dark and stormy night. That is what is known as a cliche. A cliche is a phrase or a term that is used so much it is like worn out. Come up with something fresh and interesting. Yeah, it could be dark, but it doesn't have to be stormy. It could be dark from a light bulb burning out, or you could hear the wind howling through the trees, or something creepy is crawling up the back of your neck, right? Setting the mood for a creepy story is a good way to pull people in with that first sentence. Now, the third objective when it comes to writing a creepy story is the most important one of all. If you can manage all three, that's great, but if you can only aim for one, I say raise a question. If you can create a question in the mind of the reader, that's going to make us want to read more because we want to know the answer to the question. So if you have a character doing something that makes us curious, like they're hiding behind a desk, we might wonder, why are they hiding behind the desk? Or if somebody whispers, "Help me," you wonder, who needs help? Why do they need it? By raising a question in the mind of the reader, that's always going to make us want to read more. And ultimately, that's what you want your first sentence to do, especially with a scary story. Now, take a look at this image right here as a potential story starter for your creepy story. So you take a look at this girl in the dark woods. There's an outhouse behind her with a glow coming through the crack of the door. And if you got really good eyes, you might see a skeletal figure just beyond the outhouse. There are many questions that I have right now. It's like, why is she alone in the woods? What's that glow coming from? And what on earth is that skeleton doing there? So it creates a lot of questions. It sets the mood, and it kind of hooks my attention right off the top, okay? So play around with the idea of a first sentence where you can hook the reader's attention, set the mood, and raise a question. You're going to try to apply that as we take a look at this week's Story Starter. And there you have it, this week's video prompt. Hopefully it'll spark your imagination to come up with a creepy story. Now remember, the only rule that applies with these video prompts is that it's supposed to spark your imagination. If you decide that you don't want to write a creepy story from the video you just saw, go for it. Come up with a different kind of genre. Maybe it's a fantasy, science fiction, maybe it's a mystery, maybe it's action adventure, could be a comedy, could be romance, whatever your imagination takes you, follow that instinct. Now, if you enjoyed this video, help me out, hit the like or subscribe button. Every Tuesday I put out a new video, so by subscribing you'll be able to see them as they come out. And if you enjoyed these writing tips, leave a comment, let me know what you enjoyed. If there's something you'd like to see in future videos, leave it in the comments as well. Now, to leave you off with a little bonus, like I said, Orca Books sponsored this video, and Haunted Hospital is my brand new book, so I'm going to treat you to a trailer of my brand new book. I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.
I heard there are ghosts in there.
Let's check it out. It'll be fun.